Hello everyone and welcome to another video in the Python tutorial series. So today we'll be doing functions. Functions is one of my favorite topics to learn about. So let's review functions. So let's say you have a code, a simple code, right? That first, this is your server node as usual, and then this checks a password, right? We'll write a simple code which can check a password, right? We'll write password equals to int. We'll just put int for now. We'll just put please enter your pin, and then you could do correct dash pin equals to 123, and then you could check if password equals to correct dash pin, then it would print correct password. Perfect, right? So this is the basic code to check a password. Now what you want is to reuse this code, right? And what you want is to share this code in a function format, right? And then in addition, you have been provided with a custom code that you want to integrate into this. So what would be the easiest way here? Let's review it, right? So just to simplify this and convert it into a function, what basic usage of a function would be that you want to call a function. In case if user presses a button, you would want to call it on command rather than just running sequentially, which it would, of course, if you would run the program, it would run the first line, second line, third one. But what you want is, rather than just immediately running it, first ask the user, do you want to do you want to enter a pin, or do you want to create an account? So in order to simplify this process, what you could do is define a function. So let's define a function. How would you define a function unit? So defining a function is quite easy. As easy as it sounds, you could just do define, and then you could close it, and then you have, here you go, have a basic function, right? This is you can name the function hello world, and then there you go, you have a basic function. Now whenever you call hello world, it would do print hello world, right? And then just to simplify, just to teach you a very core concept. Now what you want is not to print it. What you want is to handle it outside of the function. You don't want it to immediately print. You want to rather check it and then print. Let's say this is the case scenario. So what you could do is you could do return, and then return the value. Rather than printing it, you could return the value. Now the value is saved inside of this, and it would do absolutely nothing if you run it. So if you want to print it, then you would print the function, and it would print hello world. So this is the current functionality, and then you could save it to hello, and then you could print hello as well, right? So this is the current functionality or a core process of how a function works. You could consider a function like a box maker. You could give it values to process and generate an output. It is like your own CPU. It takes in an input and then it generates an output. So let's look into an example. Let's say you want to create a function to add two numbers. So how you could do this was sum nums, right? And then you could define a, and then you could define b. Now what is this sorcery? This is basically parameters. You can define what is needed for a function to run, or you can define the input requirements, right? And then you could just simply return a plus b, right? So now if you would run sum dash nums, it won't work. Why not? It would actually throw an error. Why won't it work is it would ask for two parameters. So you would have to define 1 comma 2, and then it would return. It would still not print anything out. And of course the reason is because you haven't printed it out. So you could print it, and then once you print it, you would get the output of 3. 1 plus 2 is 3, right? So this is your basic function assignments. Now what is the usage of a function? Let's say that the function you just created is this function. It takes two inputs, one number and then another number, to adds both numbers and creates an output. Now the problem is you do not want to make code changes. Your code base is more than 1,000 lines, and then you just want to change this part, and you're just lazy. You don't want to add more and more code and change the code, or you haven't even written the code. So how can you just sanitize it? The way to sanitize it is that you create another boundary around it, right? So that nobody can really access it, the input, or nobody can really input more than it is required. There's a rate limit. Let's use a practical example. If you were to hack, let's say an Instagram account. So let's consider this as, Instagram. So if you were to hack this account, you couldn't really. Why? The reason is not because you had like a tricky password. The reason is because after 15 attempts it would actually start banning the IP address, and you would have to use like a proxy for this. So the problem is, in order to sanitize this, they must have used functions on their input fields to make sure that a function is not called more than 15 times through a single IP. Now, if they have to do it through sequential coding, they would have to require so much more logic to directly insert it into the code without a function. So, this is how a function operates. Let's see if we have missed anything, and then we'll go on and learn it. So, we know how to define a function and how to call a function, right? To call a function, as you know, you can call a function, call me. This is not a phone call. And then you could do print hello world, and then you could just simply, of course, you could simply call me, right? And then this would call the function. As simple as that. What are function parameters and arguments? We already did that. We already did how to return values in a function. We didn't do lambda functions and how they are used. And for this tutorial scope, I think this will be out, because we're going to be focusing on basics, and then they're going to be another one, an advanced Python one, where we'll also be doing data science. So I think this will cover there. And then we have scope and lifetime of a variable within a function, right? So this one is a good one. So what you could do is you can define like a global variable, or in other programming languages also known as let. You could do a global variable which is accessible by all, everything, but you could also do like a local variable which will only be accessible by the function itself, self dot, right? So that is also there. And then we have what is a scope. We already did that. What do recursive function operate? So we already did that. So everything is done, and then we're done with Python functions. And now the task for this video is you have to just write a while loop on this. We haven't done loops yet, and then I hope you're able to write a loop on your own, because anyways in the next video we'll already be doing loops. Let's see. So we've done complete functions, and I hope you understood functions and how they work. I hope you can be able to make good apps out of functions now. We've made a quick function. We made a lot of quick functions. I hope this was helpful for you guys.